KCM partner David Evans has made a career of flying helicopters for more than 30 years. David is an experienced pilot with hours spent in utility work, firefighting missions, and medical transport. During the 11 years that he operated his own business, David was involved in 2 accidents beyond his control that contributed to his decision to close the company and stop flying. He focused his pursuit on a serious relationship with a godly woman named Cheryl.
So I actually moved the 120 miles to move down and be closer to her, gave up the flying, and went back to a secondary career, I guess you'd say, that wasn't making me happy, but I was at least with her.
So you guys were dating,
yeah.
But then you could tell he wasn't happy, right, Cheryl?
Every time a helicopter flew over, he'd just say, well, that's a 207, or that's a 405. I got to where I would recognize the names of them. That's how often I saw them. And so finally, one day I told him, I said, you need to get back to flying. I said, I've walked with the Lord long enough to know that if you lay something down, He'll give it back to you and give it better. And I said, but now you need to take it back up because that's who you are. That's what God's called you to do. And so he did.
I took a job actually flying an airlife type helicopter here in Texas, which is what brought me out here to the Dallas-Fort Worth area about a year before she came out to join me. She actually came out to visit me over a Christmas holiday, and we ended up getting married on New Year's Day at the hospital here in Texas I was working at, in the chapel.
Wow.
And then she had to go back to Oregon because her youngest daughter was still in high school, and we didn't want to pull her out of high school. So we let her finish and graduate. Then she came down and joined me that June, and we've been here together ever since. Flying the Lifestar helicopter here, we were flying over top of Kenneth Copeland's airport all the time, and I just knew it on my sectional as Copeland Airport. Didn't really realize it was the same Copeland until I was talking to her one time on the phone that asked her where Kenneth Copeland was from. And she said, right there in Dallas. And I said, well, I fly past his airport every day and I see his church. And she said, well, when we get there, that's the first place we're going. If it's that close, we're going.
Cheryl Evans had been a longtime partner with KCM and introduced David to the ministry. They attended their first convention together that year in Fort Worth, and the Word began to transform David's life. A few months later, just 1 year into their marriage, David lost his job, and together with Cheryl, he prepared to face this challenge.
I just looked at him and I said, well, here's a clue, you're not my provider. That job is not your provider. God is your provider. I said, he's Jehovah Jireh and he can take care of us. And he did. I mean, when we look back, we say, I don't know how we got through. I mean, he's been out of work since, I think, February, but yet, God has just helped us get through it. I mean, every time we turned around, we were getting checks in. We kind of laughed because we kept getting checks in the mail.
I've had people can't believe I've been unemployed for over a month and haven't been distraught and worried and trying to go out and get a job, and I keep saying the Lord will provide. I mean, I've done my part by putting in applications and, but not pursuing it to where you feel frantic.
So 33 years you have been gaining your experience, you have lots of flight time, and then you find yourself out of work for 4 months, which had to be unbelievable to you. Did you come, Cheryl, to the convention in Southwest expecting to hear from God in this area, expecting that things were going to improve?
Well, yeah, because I know that God has the right job for you. But I said, if we go there and get fed and we go and just let the Lord minister to us, I know He'll take care of us.
So what happened during that week?
Jerry Savelle was teaching on prosperity, and all of a sudden my phone vibrates, and I look at it, and I see it's one of the employers that I had sent an application to. I put it simple, they offered me a job back doing what I'd been doing for years at 1.5 times the salary I was making at my last job.
When he came back in and Jerry Savelle, just said, I don't know how, but I know that God's working behind the scenes on your behalf. And I went, yeah, Lord, you are. because in the natural, there's no way he could have gotten a job because, you know, they just don't hire now.
It gives you hope. I mean, if it can happen to one, it can happen to another.
Since that meeting, David has continued to prosper in his business and has been promoted to a new job as chief pilot, earning the largest salary of his career. As an ordained minister, Cheryl serves as the director of the prison ministry program. She and David are also part of the prayer team in their local church, and they have been blessed to build and enjoy a brand new home.
The first thing I told her is, look how much more we can bless people with now. It's not that I want to hoard more, and our style of living isn't going to change. I mean, you know, we're who we are, but it allows us to bless people more, to pass on that blessing, and that's what it's all about.